Hello everyone, my name is Rolf Trundle and I welcome you to the ChangeCockpit deep dive about Loop. We will talk about in this deep dive, first of all, the story behind Loop. Why exactly did Microsoft create this software called Loop? Then some scenarios about the building blocks. How is it? What's inside this application called Loop? What are the building blocks? Then Copilot pages and integration. We will have a quick demo in there as well, not about Copilot, but about the rest of Loop, and then some admin deep dive on what controls do you have, some uh, compliance features, and so on. Then licensing, what do you need to access Loop? And last but not least, we have the roadmap on what's coming in Loop for the, let's say, the next month. First of all, the story. Microsoft found out it was again a pandemic story, collaboration in office. There was a bigger need of people to work together. This was especially true because of they weren't together anymore physically, but they need to have the same or better tools to work together also remotely. It doesn't matter if they are on the same place or not. And they also have seen that collaboration in tools, so let's say you do co-authoring in Word or somewhere else, such a collaboration may or may not result in the creation of a formal document. So you also create other things like planning stuff or just some commenting or creating like brainstorming, something like this. And then from this, the result will be a formal document like a concept document in a Word or something like that. But before you have the formal the effective document, you need some kind of informal communication. So that was another need. Then there is the in-between space between between Microsoft 365 apps. With this, I mean the reason behind this is more and more generations are working together in Microsoft 365, but they all prefer other tools. Some people like to write notes in Word or a meeting protocol still in Word. Then there are other people who prefer OneNote, for example, as wiki or documentation or writing their own stuff. They use a OneNote notebook. Other people prefer Teams or Outlook or whatever to communicate. So Teams chat or some Outlook emails. So it depends, especially also on different generations, what they grew up with, and now it depends on what generation they are, on what tools they prefer to use. So different generations are habituated in different tools, and this means they tried to create something that keeps these different generations still together. So they need this in-between space between all other applications, and they need something everyone can work together, still collaborate in their favorite tool, but still be able to collaborate even when using different tools. So that then from this idea, Loop was born. And so therefore, workflows can transcend application boundaries. As I just mentioned, someone wants to communicate using email, the other one using Teams chat messages. We see this here graphically. First of all, the collaborate, build something together as a team, even when you are apart, and even when this means even when not everyone is in the same location. Then we have cluttered information. You have documented in these teams, perhaps as mentioned before, during a meeting, someone writes their own meeting notes or still has their own meeting notes. Perhaps they don't have Copilot yet who writes the meeting notes for them, but they still do meeting notes for someone in OneNote. I know people who do it in Notepad or in Word documents, wherever you prefer. I also have seen scenarios like someone writing their notes in as an email and sending it to themselves. So you have cluttered information. You have somewhere Word documents, PowerPoint slideshows, videos, and this could be stored anywhere in OneDrive, different teams, and so on. So we need to have something in one place. We need to have a tool where we can keep information in one place, no matter where it is stored. We don't have to move all this information to, let's say, a Loop workspace. No, we only have it there as links. So then stay in sync and on track. We want to blur these app boundaries, as mentioned before, no matter where people want to work or what their preferred tool to create in Microsoft 365 is. So then the power of Loop now comes from the power of integrating in all existing Microsoft 365 products, especially true for Loop components, which is part of Loop. We will see this in the building blocks afterwards. So we have this integration no matter where you prefer to work. Therefore, Loop can amplify especially the creation process or the communication in all existing products. And some people, especially inside Microsoft, say it's the other half of Teams, especially as since we had integrated the Teams application. We can integrate Loop as a Teams application and add it to the left rail. And it should accentuate human connection. It cannot replace it. That's also what Microsoft mentions when presenting about Loop. You can just support this human connection, but you still probably need to come together from time to time to meet each other in person. And therefore, it enables people to work together without completely learning the new tool. That's the same as on the last slide. It's the reason because everyone can work within his or her preferred tool or application. And so you don't need to learn this new perfect tool where everyone should come together now and work like we had 7 years ago when Team came out the first time. So everyone started to learn Teams and needed to learn a new kind of collaboration during the adoption phase of Teams. That's somehow true, but not completely, because you still can use your old tools when working within Loop. So where does Loop fit or blend in the whole Microsoft 365 application environments? We see on the left side, we have the communication tools, Outlook and Teams for email and chat messages and so on. So it's communicate between people, send messages. Then we have the co-creation and ideation, as I mentioned before, OneNote as an example. We have Whiteboard, perhaps during Teams meetings or during workshops or just for yourself. You try to create something within Whiteboard. And then we have the completed content, the formal communication, the formal document, the concept document as an example in Word or in Excel, PowerPoint presentations. And in between there is Loop for a co-creation, but as we will see, you still can leverage all your old tools to work with Loop. So what are the favorite scenarios? First of all, from the Loop product team, that's one part. And the other thing I've seen when people use Loop already in production or during their regular daily work. First of all, one favorite scenario is meeting notes. So creating the agenda before the meeting. We will see this in the demo afterwards. Before the meeting, and then go into the meeting, during the meeting, take your notes together, collaborate inside the meeting notes, have all the same notes. This will be especially true when Team Copilot as an independent virtual person will come out later. they said 2024, perhaps, I don't know, it will be a bit later, when Team Copilot will then also work within this meeting note space. So it's crucial, or it's very important to change this behavior where everyone takes their own meeting notes and work together on the meeting notes. So during the meeting, take these notes together, and after the meeting, sync all the resulting tasks from the meeting back to the task fabric across Microsoft 365, no matter if it's in Planner or just in your personal to-do list. So you don't have to go back to the meeting notes and, wait, for this weekly stand-up meeting, I have these 3 tasks left to do. Oh, let's see in the meeting notes. No, it will be assigned to you during the meeting, so you can keep track on the to-do applications. That's one favorite scenario. Then project management, just bring everything together. You will have inside a Loop workspace, you have all the relevant documents, you have all notes, you have all task lists, some issue item lists, or whatever you prefer in there. Then I've also seen it, the people use it for documentation. So I've seen a lot of documentations during the last years built up in a OneNote as an example, because OneNote can be shared easily and even synced to everyone's laptop. And now I've seen people start using Loop as a documentation tool, so because you can bring everything together in there. And just as a brainstorming tool, like Whiteboard. Whiteboard is more graphically. You can also use it as brainstorming tool, more from the text, some ideas. So these are the 4 favorite scenarios. But what exactly do you need to be getting looped? So what do you need to access, or where can you access the Loop applications? First of all, you have the Loop app. Loop app as a dedicated applications. You can install it from Windows Store as an example, or also inside your Teams. Then we have the Loop web app, the Loop on loop.cloud.microsoft. It's already on the new cloud.microsoft top level domain hosted in there. You can start it from your application roster from within Microsoft 365 or office.com. And then you also have Loop mobile apps. We see it here, the iOS on the right space, so or here on the right. So that's iOS, but also available for Android. Then within Loop, we have 3 main building blocks. First of all, we have the Loop components. A Loop components, you can imagine it like this is a little piece of information, and this piece of information remains in sync no matter where you place this piece of information, and you can still collaborate on the same time. More on that later. Then we have pages. Let's say a page is a file with links, tabs, and this is also a page, a canvas designed for collaboration. So, and now let's say you have many pages. What are you doing with all these pages laying around on your table? You put them together inside a workspace. That's where the workspace comes in. And inside the workspace, you can add links, pages, and traditional documents. And another scenario to imagine it the old way or with old tools is a workspace is a container, or a workspace is like a folder in File Explorer or a SharePoint site. Let's say it's a folder within File Explorer. You can put in every data types. You can put in everything you had inside your Explorer folder, and this is a workspace in Loop. And pages and also components are both, just imagine it as Loop files. Technically, there are Loop files. .loop is the end, the ending, like .docx or XLSX. Now we have .loop. So both of these pages and components are just .loop files. So that's the easiest way to imagine it, how to work with them together. We see a workspace, and when you create a workspace, we will see it afterwards as well in the demo, then you create it and you add a keyword. The workspace or the loop app will then go and find all relevant documents from with containing these keywords you added during the workspace creation process. You click all, you select all documents which are relevant to you for this particular workspace, which you are just creating now, and then everything will be tucked together. Yes, sure, you can add documents also afterwards, but this is just for a starting point. Then you have at least afterwards at least to a first page and some documents to add it to the workspace. Then to pages. Pages are, let's say, flexible canvas pages, or imagine it as flexible canvas. Give me a second. Then you on a page, you can react, you can work together, you can collaborate. You see the page in here, that's a loop page inside the workspace. The workspace is called Fourth Coffee Project, and you have different pages. You can also create a page hierarchy and add it in there. And you also have some added documents inside this workspace. So, or some linked documents. That's because there's only a link symbol. You don't physically add the documents into the workspace. They aren't stored in the workspace. They are just linked to the workspace. And now we have the page, these canvas pages. It's just a canvas for you. And you see other people are working in here as well, like you also see the co-authoring experience in all other applications. That's the same in here. Then everyone or everything on such a page can be added or converted to a loop component. We have now another loop workspace, and we are inside the flavor brainstorm of this ice cream team workspace. We are inside the flavor brainstorm page, and we see we have some text in here, just text like in Word. Uh, and we can select text and create a loop component from this text. This means we can reuse this component and add it somewhere else, let's say in another page or in an email, and send it out to people and say, hey, what do you think about it? And you can still continue your work within the component in this page. So this component thing is like a bit of mind-boggling, and more on that just after the pages part. Then pages can contain all possible data types or all other data types like planner, application, components. That's another component because pages technically you just add text and components into a page, and so you have the most flexible way of creating such pages. Because you can also add things to this page using slash and add commands. We will see this also later on the demonstration. And if you want to start with a new page, you don't need to start empty, because if you take the common scenarios, then you probably all of you will use some kind of the same starting points from pages, perhaps project briefs, and therefore Microsoft created lots of templates for you, like a project brief, like an issue tracker, stand-up meeting, marketing plan. If you just start a new project, a new R&D, or just some new product development, and probably you need the marketing plan, you have your stand-up meetings, things like that. Just add these templates and customize it for your needs, so you don't have to start from blank every time. So pages, there are lots of templates available to add new pages. Then we have the components. The components can be added to a page, but also can be used in many different applications. Like you can add it to an email, an Outlook email. You can add it to a Teams chat message. It's a portable container containing information. And if you add, let's say you create a list or just a basic list, a loop component. You add this list to your loop page, you add it to an email or to a Teams chat. Now, if you start or if you continue working on that list, everyone sees the updated list. Even when you are inside Outlook, you see this email. This email changes while you read it because other people are working inside the component which is added to this list, to this email. So same in Teams chat. So this means technically that an email can look different when you look at it next time than it looked than it looks just now, because people continue work on this loop component, which is just added into this email. Technically, inside this email, there is a link to this component, and Outlook just renders the component while reading the email. So you have these portable data containers, and there are many different types available. I have it on the next slide, all the different types. They will stay in sync and no matter where you place them or where you insert them, because all these experiences will point to the same .loop file and just update, and you can also edit it from everywhere. It's possible to edit the loop component from within or while reading the email in Outlook, and all other people see the updated version because it's co-authoring experience. Therefore, you can collaborate from everywhere where a loop component can be shown, like Outlook app on your mobile phone. You can integrate at mentions, meaning at mention or a comment for other people, and they will get notified. If you have a to-do component, that's even more basic than a planner plan, and you add a task and assign a task inside a to-do component to someone else, then the task fabric from Microsoft 365 will just sync it even to their to-do, so they still can keep track on us tasks assigned somewhere, let's say in an email, because the loop component for to-do is added to this email. And currently all supported apps are Teams, Outlook, OneNote, and Whiteboard. Word was only rolled out for targeted release customers, and it was only rolled out for Word Online, and they just rolled this experience back. So it's Teams, Outlook, OneNote, and Whiteboard. And this is the complete list as of end of October of all existing loop components. There is a table, just a basic table, some list, a call out, code block. I think voting table is also quite interesting. You can add a Kanban board component. Then you have your Kanban board, and if you add it to a Teams chat message or to an email, you just have this always updated Kanban board inside this data or inside this chat message. And you can even add, I mentioned before, the to-do list. You can even add a planner board, and then you add an existing Microsoft planner board into your experiences as a loop component. Here we see this co-authoring experience. On the left side, we have just the loop component added to a loop workspace or to a loop page inside a workspace. We have the the loop page called checklist component because we added this checklist component into this page, very, very basic. And on the right side, we see a Teams chat message. And inside this Teams chat message, I sent this component, I added this component to this chat. Therefore, we also have the same component in there. And as we now start to edit it, on the left side, we will see when as it changes inside the Teams chat message as well. So we start, go in there, click on the checklist, add some new item 1, item 2, and we see it on the same time. And all people seeing this component now or have the same experience and can also start to work together or collaborate all at the same time. So that's the idea of components. Everywhere is the same information will be shown and integrated in all applications. So even if you're preferring Outlook email to send out a message or Teams chat, all have the same data, all see the same information at the same time. Then components to to access a component or to share this component with other people. Let's say you want to send it by Teams chat, then you need to share this component because a component is, I mentioned it, it's a loop file. Therefore, not everyone in the company by default has access to all loop files, makes sense. And so you need to share it, either you're doing it just by adding it to a Teams chat, then it will be shared automatically, or you can go to, this is the component experience in a page, and inside this page you just click hover, only hover over the component, and on the upper right side you have some icons, and one of these icons is a sharing icon, and if you just click on the sharing icon you also see people who have access, and you see who has currently access to this table we see in here. That's one thing, just to share only an individual component. You can also share a loop page, and you can also share a whole loop workspace. So the granularity of sharing information is given. So if someone else only needs to see this team members list, just share this team members list and not the whole page where this members list could be added to. Or if you want to have someone on the project team, you can also share the whole loop workspace, just what you need in there. And if you also click on the upper right, you can see the shared location. So you see always where you place, because it's quite easily to lose track of where you placed or where you inserted this loop component. You wait, did I send it to as chat message to someone else? Just go in here, click on this loop component on shared location, and you see, this one is added to a loop workspace. It's in the Teams chat with Adil, and we have it in another project brief loop workspace or loop page. So you always see where it's added, where it was added to, and who has access to this individual component or data. It wouldn't be at the end of 2024 when there is no Copilot integration. So therefore we see in here, we see in this very, very quick animation, we see that the Copilot integration is also inside Loop, meaning you have it everywhere. You can add text, you can draft text, you can rewrite text, you can prompt it to create, like in here in this video, turn it into an agenda, and then we have the next meeting agenda from an outline of upcoming meetings, and or from a product launch plan and so on. So just use Copilot inside Loop as you are doing it in all other applications. It's there to help you everywhere. Then one big thing was the Copilot pages. Copilot pages was released during the Copilot Wave 2 announcement or rollout. And Copilot Pages, the idea behind Copilot Pages is you prompt Copilot chat, or for those of you who aren't so familiar with Copilot, let's say you go into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT a question. You can do the same in the Copilot BizChat, except that Copilot BizChat has also access to the whole of to the same data as you have, so we can reuse your data as input for asking questions to the GPT system. So let's say you go to this BizChat. We see here in the Microsoft 365 application, go to Copilot. We are on the web tab. You could switch from web or work. It doesn't matter. Copilot Pages works anywhere. Then you ask Copilot and you think, hey, this result, this answer is quite interesting. This is a good starting point. I need to show it to someone else. So typically, the Copilot chat answer is private. And with Copilot Pages, Microsoft wants to change this and to give you a way to easily turn a Copilot answer from private to a shared, meaning you can start or you can continue and work. Because let's say this answer from Copilot is okay, but it's not perfect. So you want to develop or you want to start, that's a good starting point to work on. Then you just click on, in this answer, you click on edit in pages, then a page will, a Copilot page, no, sorry, a loop page will open containing the information from the result, the answer from the Copilot prompt. So you don't have to copy paste it yourself. You just click on create using edit in pages, and then you will be able to share this page. It becomes a collaborative piece of work. Share it either just to other people or add it to an existing workspace or to a new workspace, whatever you prefer. So you will have then there this page. So this is a new type of Copilot data, where no, on loop data, but was created initially from Copilot. So that's basically that's a Copilot page where you turn a result into a collaborative piece of information where you can start to work together on this information. Then, before we go to the demo, one quick thing about guest access. Everything I just mentioned was from within the tenant, within your organization. You just share and edit and work together. But there is also now guest access available, meaning Azure AD B2B guest access, like you have in Teams, like you have in SharePoint Online if you turned on the B2B integration. And you can invite external people to your loop workspace, pages and components, and everyone can work together, even with external parties. So currently, at the end of October, it's only available for tenants without configured sensitivity labels. Microsoft decided to do this because tenants with sensitivity labels are normally more restrictive when sharing information to outside people. So they decided to first roll out these features to tenants without sensitivity labels, and there it's available already. And by default, I think it was rolled out back in July. Others, meaning tenants with sensitivity labels, will get the feature later this year. There will be a message communication. I will for sure talk about this in a ChangeCockpit, probably already in November, ChangeCockpit, to announce the rollout window, because they will announce it to give tenant admin 30 days of time to switch it off if they prefer to have no guest access to loop components, pages, or workspace, so to the loop in system. So currently available for tenants without sensitivity labels. All others should get it later this year. And the first you share to people you choose. So you go to a loop page, go to people you choose, and then you share it. See this in here. We click on this project brief page, click on share, and then click on people you choose. We add the email address of the external person, choose the more settings, choose the access level like edit or view. And then we need to send the link manually using Teams chat or Outlook email, because it won't send out a sharing email like you are perhaps used to in SharePoint Online or OneDrive. And for new guests, meaning if you invite an external person the very first time from your tenant, you need to first share the page, then wait 1 to 2 hours till the guest user is provisioned, and then you can also share the workspace. Workspaces can only be shared with existing guest users, but not with the creation of guest users can't be done at the same time as you share the workspace. So first share a page or component, wait, and then share the workspace. So let's head into the demo. Welcome back to the demo. First of all, the loop entry points. We have the loop application itself, which is installable in Windows. Then we have the loop application inside a web application, and the link ist ein bisschen gut. Okay, welcome back to the demo. Welcome back to the demo. Okay, first of all, Loop is accessible via the Loop app. The Loop app as installed Windows application as mentioned before. Then we have the Loop web app that's in loop.cloud.microsoft, and it will greet us with a daily greeting, and we see the last workspaces and so on. And then we have the Loop Teams application, which is basically the same as the Loop web application. So first of all, we will now create a meeting with meeting notes. We go here, go to demo English. We could add attendees, doesn't matter for now. We go to add agenda. Now we see getting things ready, a loop component will be created for these meeting notes. We can add the agenda 1, 2, 3, and here we could already prepared meeting notes and add some follow-up tasks, but let's do this later. So we save this in here. Okay, now we will switch to this meeting or join this meeting. We have here demo English, join. No audio, please, because it's a virtual environment. So here we are. It will now start the meeting notes, or the meeting notes will show directly on the left side, on the right side, sorry. And we see the prepared agenda and the meeting notes. We could now collaborate, everyone, each participant inside, meaning from your organization, can now collaborate to this meeting notes. The sharing with guests is depending on if you are using sensitivity labels, as mentioned before. So we have the notes during the meeting in here. And we could, let's say we identified some follow-up tasks from EN demo, and we assign it to the wizard, because I'm joining here as wizard for this demonstration. And that's it, meeting ended now. Let's leave this meeting. Call quality was enormous. It was great. And if we go back to the meeting, we will see now all this agenda meeting notes, the collaborative meeting notes. That's how it's called technically. We could even share or check who has access. It was only one participant, so this participant automatically got access. We could copy the component and add it somewhere else, meaning I could go back into a chat and send this meeting note from meeting you missed, because this participant wasn't part of it. Here it is. I send. That's it. And Rolf from ChangeCockpit has now access, and we'll see who has access and is now able to see this meeting notes loop component, because I copy and pasted it from in to here. It's even possible. Let's check the access from my Teams client just to see if it's laggy in there. Yes, on the other screen I can see this loop component, and I also see in here, oh, the other one just joined. Rolf Trande has this component open and could now start and continue to work on this as well. I could also send it by email. Doesn't matter. This component is portable. Let's say portable, and it's now stored in, technically it's now stored in my OneDrive. So that's it. Let's go to do. We see in here, oh, task from EN demo has already synced back to the to-do. So I can follow up all tasks identified during the meeting in my to-do app with assigned to me. It's the same place as, let's say, assigned planner tasks. So that's how we prepare for a meeting, creating the component, then working on the component, and even can send it afterwards also to people who didn't attend the meeting. This works very well. Then if we do a loop component from Teams chat, that's another possibility. We have just seen when we pasted a component in here. I go down to this component in Teams chat. There's the component icon to create a new component. In Outlook, if I create a new email, it would be in up here. It's grayed out. Only when I click in the body, it will be shown in here. So I could add a new component from here. That's it. And same in Teams chat. I add a new component. Then I can choose the component type. It's now a loop paragraph. I can change it to table as an example and just add some data. And this loop component will be sent and automatically shared with the other person. And I can also reuse it. So let's say, going back to the agenda from before, I copy this component, go into loop workspaces. How I create the workspace, I will show you quite in a second. And I add this component in here. And it should now expand. Here we are. Okay, so that's how to create a component from Teams chat or from email and just send it to the other person, and you can then also reshare it. If I go into this, or if I check the shared locations button in this component, demo English, or then I see it's also open page in this chat from the source. And we have the checklist component. It's also in the open page in the drone launch, and shared locations for this particular. Sometimes it takes a bit until it shows all the location, makes sense, but afterwards you will see where, on what places you shared this component or where it was stored and placed. Then the loop app itself, that was only components till now. Let's go to the loop app. We are here. We see at the current or the existing workspaces. I click now on create new. Either I create page in ideas or workspace. Okay, let's start on the left side. On the left side, I have search notifications. Let's say someone mentions me or in a loop page inside a workspace, then I get notifications up here. Then a recent, just my recent pages and components I opened. Then I have ideas. Ideas is a place where you could store an individual page just for you. It will be private. It's like your private notebook inside Loop. Once you're ready with this private notes page, you could then add it to a to a page if you would like to do so. And then we have meeting notes. That's quite a practical place. If you remember, oh wait, we made the notes inside the meeting last week and you attended the meeting, then you will see it in here. And even if you have a recurring meeting, then you will see from the meeting series every version or each version from the different series, because this meeting notes component will be edited from meeting to meeting depending on the on every recurrence or on every occurrence during this recurring meeting session. Okay, then we have one workspace in here. Now I click on create new workspace. I see let's call it demo English, and I could even already share it, but let's prepare it first and share it later. Click on continue, and now it will just it's written here all files. It will propose some files to me to add to this workspace, but I could use ChangeCockpit. Then let's do it this way, so it will be one term. Then afterwards, let's write it together. Afterwards, I use also test, just as a test. And now I see all files, ChangeCockpit and ChangeCockpit tests will be filtered. So it will go and find files using these keywords while describing what I'll be using my workspace for. Or just, you don't need to write a sentence, you can also just use keywords. So I go to ChangeCockpit and I see many ChangeCockpit presentations, but also a loop component and also Word document. So let's take this Word document and let's say this PowerPoint presentation, and I would like to take this component meeting demo as well. Click on create. It will create now the loop workspace for me. Takes some time, some demo English. So here we see it's linked. If I click on the link, Word will open and show me this document. It's just a linked version to this document. It's not stored inside the workspace. It's just for as your reference, so you know, okay, this document is very important for this project. Let's call it this demo English project. And here I have directly accessible the meeting notes from the last meeting demo. And I can also move these pages and create hierarchies if I like it. And clicking on create page, it will create a new empty page. But now I have some templates down here. First, I see 5 templates. I could click down here on template gallery. Here we see lots of templates. I take now, let's say, meeting note. No, meeting notes we already have. Let's take a tech spec. Use this template or an issue tracker. Let's take an issue tracker. Use this template. And now we have a new issue tracker already pre-filled with tables and some text and a link section and so on. I could now also start and write some text, just free text, or I use slash to insert something, for example, an element or a loop component, or I mention someone, just a full selection with slash. The forward slash. I can say slash template, and then I get some loop component templates to add in here. Let's take this progress tracker. I go back. I could also use that mention at, and I need to quickly shut down my application, which blocks my at. So I use at, and let's say I take Rolf. Now this person doesn't have access yet to this space because I didn't share it. So share and notify. Rolf will get the notification. That's only the first time. Afterwards, I can just mention him. Please check this part of the loop page. That's it. I already got a notification from my loop mobile app down here, which tells me, hey, ChangeCockpit Wizard mentioned you in a page, and I can start and continue work. So the rest is just a Kanban. I can do whatever I like in here, but the power here is also using or reusing other loop components within this workspace or these pages. Link all important documents like documentations. Let's say you do your IT documentation workspace, and then you have your weekly IT meeting. Then you add your recurring meeting notes component also in here. So you always have the newest information. You have the task list. Everyone who has a task assigned to him will get also the task inside the assigned to me section in to do to track it, so you don't have to click on every on every meeting notes, on every collaborative meeting notes loop component to follow up your tasks or to check what tasks are open. So that's quite important. And you have the linked documents that also inside this app. So that's for the loop. Just in a nutshell, the loop workspace, loop application, creating a workspace using keywords. Keywords will find relevant documents for you. For sure, I can also go just create either new page or add something else in here or link some other documents in here. Then we had the meeting notes tab as mentioned and Copilot pages. I want to show you as well, because it was just launched in so here we are. It was just launched in wave 2 and they made quite a fuss about it. So I go here, write me something funny. I ask Copilot, sure, here's a little joke for you. Thank you. Oh, I think this joke is just great. I didn't even read it till now. I click on edit in pages. Here we are. It created from this answer, it created a new page. The title is the prompt, and I can start and collaborate on this page. Now I can also share it if I like it, copy component. I go here, component. By default, it's a company org-wide sharing link. I could change this if I like to. I click on apply, the link is copied. I go back to my new demo English workspace, create a new empty page about jokes and add this component in here, insert and share. Here we are, and we can now start and collaborate directly from these Copilot pages. Loop component, which resulted from a Copilot answer from a prompt. I could also store, I don't need to go and add it to a loop page. I can also just share it in here, page link. I take the link and send it by email to someone else. And then we start to collaborate on this Copilot page. So that's it basically. Just to show the most important step, I can only, you need to try it for yourself because you probably have access to Loop. We will see it just in some minutes if what license requirements we have. So let's switch back to the presentation. Here we are, we have seen this demonstration. So where are all these loop files stored, or all these loop components and pages? We have seen how to work with it. We have seen how a workspace looks like a page, some components, but you as an admin probably are interested in, this is not the admin part of the presentation, where this places or where these things are stored. So first of all, workspaces are in SharePoint Embedded. SharePoint Embedded is a new concept within SharePoint Online. These are like containers. To see these containers, we have them in here. You see the screenshot of my SharePoint Admin Center on the left side. On the left side, you have containers. To see these containers, you need to have the SharePoint Embedded Administrator role. If this is invisible, this doesn't necessarily mean you don't have any containers. It just means you have no access to the container. So in here you see all these containers for loop workspaces like ideas, other loop workshop, new workspace. So it's the name of the workshop reflects the, or the container name reflects the name of the particular workspace inside Loop. And then there is also a pages container. That's a personal container for Copilot pages. All these here are tenant-wide. I have an image regarding this afterwards, tenant-wide and private containers. And if there is a shared storage available, so let's say you create a loop component in Teams channel, then it will save the .loop file inside the document library for this Teams channel in SharePoint Online. And the third one, if you create a loop component, let's say inside Teams chat, you don't link an existing one, you create a new one in there as shown before, then it will be created, this .loop file will be created inside your OneDrive and shared from there. That's a more or a better representation. We see it. It always depends on where you click on the plus button for this loop component or this loop workspace. So Copilot pages, that's kind of itself at the moment because it's stored in user loop workspace. So the user gets SharePoint embedded workspace in SharePoint embedded, and that's a personal one for the pages. Then we have the loop application. We have the tenant loop workspace as we have seen in the admin center before. For Teams channel and channel meeting node, if you create a channel meeting from and meeting nodes, therefore then the .loop for the meeting nodes. A meeting node is technically nothing else than a loop component and will be stored in the channel folder in SharePoint Online. And all the rest, like private chat, Outlook email message, if you create a loop component from one node, then this will be stored in the user's OneDrive in the particular folder. Also seen here, that's another view of almost the same, but it's very important to know about the new concept which will be rolled out. It's already publicly, you can see it in the roadmap, is the new access concept. So first of all, personal storage, as mentioned before, is your OneDrive for business, and the personal workspace for Loop or for SharePoint, no, sorry, for Copilot pages. So if you create page in personal workspace, which is not available yet, or if you create a Copilot page, this will be stored in here. And if you create a Loop component from a compatible app like Teams or OneNote or Outlook, then this will be stored in your OneDrive. Then we have by default and now currently existing, we only have tenant-owned shared storage, meaning the tenant SharePoint embedded or the tenant workspaces. If you create a loop workspace, it will be always created in the tenant-owned container, the ones we've seen on the screenshot before. That's it. If you create a page in Loop Workspace, it will be in a shared. We don't have these personal workspaces yet. We will see this on the roadmap afterwards. And what's also coming in the future it wouldn't be a ChangeCockpit deep dive if we wouldn't talk about what's coming and what's next. There will be, currently we have an access roster for every workspace or page, meaning this granting access and sharing pages and workspaces to other people. Each component and workspace has its own access table, access roster, Microsoft is calling it. So it's quite a nightmare from a governance perspective if you would leverage some defaults within your tenant or within your company or organization. So therefore, it will be possible to connect or to enable that a Loop workspace needs to have an underlying Microsoft 365 group, and then this workspace will be group owned, meaning all the governance concepts you already developed and are applying are also applying to Loop workspaces as soon as you connect it to this group, because everyone who has access to the group or to the channel particular, it will be on a channel level and not on the whole group level, will then have access to this space. So afterwards, if you connect this, then if you create a Loop component in a Teams channel, it will be stored in the Teams connected SharePoint site, and Loop workspaces will be created. Then there will be a Loop workspace created for this team, for this group. This will be a team workspace and not a tenant-wide workspace with the access permissions applied by the group or defined by the group. So that's the most important thing, I think, also what's coming from a governance perspective, because at the moment it's quite loose. You cannot define any standards. Then more, and in admin, you can turn off on or off Loop tenant-wide. By default, it should be turned on by now. If you go to settings, organization settings, then you have Microsoft Loop, and in there you have the allow access to workspaces in Loop app. And here you can turn it on or off. That's tenant-wide. So if you decide not to use it at all, just disable it in there. Or if you did so till now, or you wait for M365 group connections, then you will enable it in there. Then you have per user or per group applications or per group policies. First, we have in the App Admin Center, if you search for Loop, you will find, yesterday it was 17 policies with the word Loop in it. And here you have, for example, create and view Loop workspaces in Loop. This policy, you can apply it to a group, and let's say you do a pilot deployment with some pilot user groups, and all the rest will have it disabled. You just enable it for the members of this group, then you would use this policy as an example. And here we also have the new policy, which is still only which will come this year, probably, hopeful. Require existing Microsoft 365 group for new Loop workspaces. That's also you can force this new setting once it's available using a policy. So just go in the Apps Admin Center, search for Loop, and then check what kind of policies you find in here. And then you also have it by SharePoint Online tenant settings. You have the is-collab meeting notes fluid enabled. With this, you can enable or disable the collaborative meeting notes inside Teams. That's a per tenant setting, meaning it applies to all of your users. And is Loop enabled, the whole Loop enable or disable thingy, only from the PowerShell part for the whole tenant. And you can disable Loop, but you can still use the collaborative meeting notes fluid enabled. This should work. Another view of these admin switches, just for your reference, if you want to configure policies, then you can look up this slide. We have the Loop component switches, which are per PowerShell or per cloud policy. And then we have the Loop workspaces part, which also controls SharePoint embedded. And for workspaces, you need an M365 license level. And I have a dedicated slide for this. And for the components, you just need a license. It's included everywhere. This is another view with the regarding PowerShell commandlets. If you would like to do workspace management, app management, or tenant management, you would use all these PowerShell commandlets. So if you try to automate certain things or add members, remove members in the workspace, then you could use set SPO container, or if you would do a cleanup or whatever you like, then just use this as your reference. Compliance is also a very important topic because Microsoft first, when Loop was in early preview, we could test it, but it was an opt-in preview experience, meaning you needed to turn it on in your tenant. The reason for this was exactly the compliance part, meaning it is the compliance features weren't available till then. Now everything is compliant. All compliance tools apply to Loop as well, meaning especially audit logs, e-discovery premium. If you would like to export Loop files as Loop files or as HTML, you can choose during the export. Then you need e-discovery premium. Data lifecycle management for retention and data loss prevention, including policy tip in Loop pages. You would see on top of the Loop page, hey, there's a credit card number stored in here. That's a problem. As a policy tip, and the data lifecycle management we see here. So let's say you configure a retention policies which defines that you cannot delete anything for 10 years inside your tenant. Then you see here in purview in metadata, you see that it's also stored. If you remove this meeting notes loop component, then it will be stored inside the preservation hold library of this space, as you are used to using the regular SharePoint files, which are also stored in the preservation hold library. Technically, a .loop file isn't anything else. It's just the normal life cycle or the normal policy which applies to also .loop files. Sensitivity labels is coming later this year, and it will then be possible to apply sensitivity labels to your Loop components, workspaces, pages. And it's also possible as soon as the M365 group management will be available, as noted before. Then if you define or you apply a label to a SharePoint Online site, or document library, or you apply a label to the teams, then these teams will be inherited. This sensitivity label will be inherited by the Loop workspace, or Loop page which you create inside this connected group. From a licensing perspective, you need, as I mentioned, components. You need nothing except a license for whatever you like. Then you can create Loop components. But to create workspaces, you need a Microsoft 365 plan. So Microsoft 365 Business Standard and Premium, Microsoft 365 E3 and E5 or A3 and E5, but no only plans. So you don't have access to Loop workspaces if you have Office 365 E3 and you don't have Microsoft 365 E3. So that's the difference. You need Microsoft, but actually it's quite good news, I think, because you don't need any dedicated license to get Loop, and I didn't see anything that points into the direction of Loop Premium till now. So let's keep fingers crossed. It will be the full powerhouse of Loop will be included forever in Microsoft 365. Then we have lots on the roadmap. I won't go through every point. I think the most important parts I already mentioned, like Loop workspace sensitivity levels, the group membership, the group connection to it. We also have this view that's just for your reference, or you just go to the Microsoft roadmap, click on Loop and filter for in development, then you will see. But forget these rollout dates in here. I mean, the Loop workspace sensitivity label should roll out start in October 2024. Could be, I haven't seen it nowhere. So uh, the rollout dates inside the roadmap are often quite not so exact. Then we have the roadmap for this view available today, meaning the green ticks, green tickies. We see the sensitivity labels is already available on a container level read-write on workspaces in Loop experience, should be, or is already rolling out. We have retention labels available. That's from the compliance part we talked about, and multi-geo. For those of you who use multi-geo, you can do a multi-geo move in PowerShell. Then coming soon, quite important, is the per user workspace, also for multi-geo, but also the normal per user workspace. So we can use your own private Loop workspaces, which aren't stored inside the tenant level workspace. More admin management, better member management. Till now, we have the problem if the owner of a workspace leaves the company, then we don't have any tools to replace this owner. That's quite bad, but this will be solved using more or better admin management, and especially if you connect the Loop workspaces to Microsoft 365 groups, then it's anyway problem solved, because you can leverage your current life cycles and governance policies. And then a bit later, or even more later, we have the departed user workflows, admin management, usage reports for you who like to use usage reports in M365 Admin Center, more recyclement, and groups as members inside workspaces, not tying to a group, meaning a group being a member. That's the most important parts in here. I mentioned the personal workspace and the group-owned workspaces. And we see this graphically, the user-owned, you have your personal workspaces. And as soon as this is manage it like OneDrive, then the group owned manage it with Microsoft 365 groups, and tenant owned manage it like a SharePoint communication site. This will be in the future. Personal and group owned don't work yet. This will be at a later date. So if you like this news, if you like the roadmap, if you would like to keep on top and you aren't already a member of ChangeCockpit, then in a nutshell, ChangeCockpit is a monthly live event where we present all rolling out updates, all updates which are rolling out in the current and following month. This is currently around 120 changes per month, which are rolling out in Microsoft 365 every month. And we are presenting them within 2 hours in a monthly live event. So if you want to keep yourself on top regarding Microsoft 365 news and that's going on, just join ChangeCockpit. If you aren't a member yet, a free demo is available on this website, changecockpit.cloud. And here are also some of our amazing customers for your reference. Then the next events. Wednesday at the end of November 27, from 9:30 to 11:30, it's ChangeCockpit October in Swiss German, and we also have it in English available in the afternoon. This is all Central European time zone from 3 till 5 p.m. And on Tuesday, December the 10th, from 9 till 11, will be a next deep dive about MFA and phishing resistance. And these are more dates regarding deep dives. We already had now backup and archive all around email security are available on your request. Either if you're a member in Teams or if you would like to see it and you aren't yet a member, then just drop or go to the website and sign up to access these recordings. Get in the loop, that's the current session now. MFA and phishing resistance will be on December 10th, and then in January all about multi-tenant capabilities, and in March SharePoint Online Advanced Management. As mentioned, there is an event recording available for you as members. I will post it into Teams, and for the guests who signed up for this session now, the link will be sent to you. And more resources are from my MVP friend and moderator in the Swiss German version. the blog and our podcasts we are doing together. If you have any questions, Q&A, and so on, I know it's a recording for the English version, then just drop me a line to rolf@changecockpit.ch, either by Teams chat or by email, or write to me on LinkedIn. Here are our QR codes. Please add us on LinkedIn to also get more news and insights using LinkedIn post. Then thank you very much. If you watched it till here, especially thank you very much. I hope you learned something, and see you in either in Change Cockpit or in the next deep dive. Thank you and goodbye.